forward. I said I wanted to ensure that every single family in Scotland has equality of opportunity, regardless of their background or where they live, to deliver focused and ambitious measures which protect our environment, which promote economic growth, improve people's well-being, and crucially reduce poverty. Fundamentally, I want to inspire confidence in people across the land that the best way to achieve the strongest economy, the best public services, the healthiest and happiest population is by becoming an independent nation. Over the past year, I'm proud to have laid the foundations down of that vision. We are investing record amounts in our NHS, ensuring it can employ record numbers of staff, delivering the best performing A&E units in the UK. We are, of course, the only part of the UK to avoid pay-related strike action in our NHS. I've delivered the council tax freeze this year in every local authority, helping families where we can during a cost of living crisis. We've removed peak fares on our railways, and last week we approved plans for Europe's largest floating offshore wind farm. These are just some of the actions that are making Scotland a better country. During my time as First Minister, Scotland's economy continued to grow while the UK fell into recession. Average earnings in Scotland are forecast to grow faster than the rest of the UK. Attainment is at a record high. Record numbers of students from deprived areas are entering universities. We are estimated this year to lift 100,000 children out of poverty due to our actions as the Scottish Government. Renewable technologies generated the equivalent of 113% of Scotland's overall electricity consumption in 2022. And Scotland continues to be the top destination in the UK for foreign investment outside of London. And of course, just this week, a report from HMRC found that far from driving people away from Scotland, our progressive taxation policy has actually been accompanied by a net migration from people across the UK. Thousands more people are coming to Scotland than leaving, generating tens of millions of pounds in additional tax revenue. People and businesses are looking at life in SNP-run Scotland, and they are voting with their feet by moving here. Being First Minister is both an enormous privilege and a great joy. The privilege of being able to make a positive difference in people's lives each and every single day. And the joy of meeting inspirational people from all walks of life, each in their own way, making life better for their families and their communities, gives me an unrivaled perspective on the many opportunities, but also the many challenges that our nation faces. As leader of this government, I have to decide, how can we best meet those challenges? How can we grow our economy in a fair and sustainable way? How can we ensure vital public services like our NHS are the best they can be? And how do we play our part as a responsible global citizen, helping to tackle issues like the climate and nature emergencies? For almost 3 years, we of course have done that through our cooperation agreement with the Scottish Green Party. That agreement has undoubtedly brought a number of successes. That includes delivering a progressive budget which prioritises our NHS and public services over tax cuts for the wealthy. It includes, of course, free bus travel for under 22s, bringing ScotRail into public ownership, committing the first £75 million of the 10-year Just Transition Fund for the North East and Moray. But cooperation in any sphere of life is, almost by definition, a trade-off, one which the benefits of working together are held up against the limitations of compromise. And when it comes to our agreement with the Scottish Green Party, I believe that the benefits have outweighed the compromises. When I said that the agreement was worth its weight in gold, I meant it. However, it is now my judgment that the balance has shifted. The Bute House agreement was intended to provide stability to the Scottish Government. and it has made possible a number of achievements. But it has served its purpose. It's no longer guaranteeing a stable arrangement in Parliament. The events of recent days have made that clear. And therefore, after careful consideration, I believe that going forward, it is in the best interests of the people of Scotland to pursue a different arrangement. That is why, following a discussion with my Cabinet this morning, I have formally notified Patrick Harvie and Lorna Slater that I am terminating the Bute House agreement with immediate effect. I spoke to both Patrick and Lorna earlier this morning. I thank them for their substantial contribution to the Scottish Government and to Scotland and their public service over the last few years. I also made clear to them that my intention is that our respective parties continue to work together where we can in the national interest. Significantly, we are resolute in our determination to give the people of Scotland a say on their constitutional future, which, of course, Westminster parties continue to deny the people. In essence, I hope that we will still be cooperating, but just returning to, frankly, a less formal arrangement. To continue delivering for the people of Scotland, I believe it is right that the SNP seek to broaden its sphere of cooperation. And that then brings me to what happens next. Having laid the foundations for my priorities in government over the last 13 years, we will now step up our ambition, but we will do so as a minority government. That will be tough. We will seek to work not just with the Scottish Greens, but with MSPs from across the chamber. The SNP has, of course, governed as a minority for most of our time in office, and having served as a minister for a number of years during that time, I'm well used to working constructively with opposition parties to, where necessary, secure parliamentary support. And I have no issue, none whatsoever, in doing so again. It was, of course, under that arrangement that some of our biggest successes in government were achieved, be that the creation of Social Security Scotland, a progressive taxation regime, the creation of the Scottish National Investment Bank, and, of course, the introduction of free university tuition. So despite the many challenges thrown in our way, such as Westminster austerity, Brexit, a global pandemic, this government has delivered for the people of Scotland. But the challenges of yesterday are not necessarily the challenges of tomorrow. And the SNP needs the freedom and flexibility to ensure that we move Scotland forward and adapt to that changing world. We need to speak to the country with one voice, our voice. And as such, I am clear that today marks a new beginning for the SNP government. I have a clear policy agenda that I wish to take forward, one that centres around growing our economy and supporting businesses, improving our NHS, tackling poverty and child poverty in particular, helping households during a Westminster cost of living crisis, standing up for the rights of everyone in Scotland, especially our most marginalised communities, and, for the avoidance of any doubt, tackling the climate emergency. A parliament of minorities need not be, and I would suggest should not be, a parliament of enemies. At its best, the Scottish Parliament has achieved great things for the people of Scotland. And as we approach its 25th anniversary, let us all pause and reflect and rededicate ourselves to ensuring that it continues in that vein. Let me, therefore, conclude with a direct message to the people of Scotland. During my first year of leadership, I hope I've demonstrated to you that I am fighting to change Scotland for the better. I am working tirelessly to build a strong, sustainable economy which works for everyone, to strengthen our NHS and other public services, to build a country in which everyone feels accepted and is able to reach their full potential, and to do what I can, in my own way, to create a more peaceful world. I joined the SNP because it's a party which, above all else, believes in Scotland. We have unlimited ambition for all of those who are fortunate enough to call this country their home. As your First Minister, I will always, always put Scotland's interests first. With that, I will now answer some journalists' questions.